Thank you everyone for joining us. Ilya, it's really good to see you in UAE and Abu Dhabi. Um, the AI has been big topic throughout this finance week and addition to digital asset. And seems like NEAR is in the epicenter of those two big pillars that everyone has been talking about for a whole week. Could you share us a bit about what NEAR is?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for inviting and for Hub 71 for hosting this, and obviously Abu Dhabi and the royal family. Yeah, my belief and kind of vision is that AI will transform how we are interacting with compute, how we're interacting with internet, how we do research, and how do we advance kind of technology going forward. Like in a way, AI is a fundamentally lost technology wave because every other technology wave after this will be built by AI. And if you think of this, you don't want this to belong to one company. You don't want this to be controlled by one country. You don't want this to be limited in ways that, some specific set of constraints. You want this to be available to everyone. And so that is the same effectively as money as a technology. We don't want it to be limited by, single party. We don't want it to be, easily censorable. And so really, like fundamentally, it's on alignment on values. And then when you actually need to implement, like how do you achieve AI that is on your side, right? How do we make it user-owned, not corporate-owned? You need to really kind of design systems differently. And that's where kind of blockchain technology, Web3 technology comes in as a tool set to really build this differently. And we can expand on that.
For sure. And now with the recent surge with demand and resources dedicated to AI, we're seeing giga projects from different nations, within US, also in the UAE with teams like G42, also in Saudi Arabia, building a bunch of data centers. With this full stack approach of welcoming AI globally, what is the role of blockchain layer, and what is the role that NEAR will be playing? As you mentioned, the user-owned and community-owned AI, it seems like it's becoming widened even to the electricity or energy to data centers and more.
Yeah, so the way I think of blockchain broadly is effectively that is your identity, payment, global markets, coordination tools, right? This is what enables effectively to move everything around us and make things happen. AI then is the way you interact with all this. The AI is the way you're going to be, effectively the Google and all of the steps you take before actions taken. AI can just do that for you. And indeed, for that, you need a lot of infrastructure to happen underneath. So how do we do that? Well, we need a market for compute. We need to make sure that there's no kind of a single place where, if that data center goes offline or if that kind of place, applies restrictions to whoever uses it, it's not going to affect everybody else. So we need a way to decentralize and kind of compute. But to do that, you also need to ensure privacy, right? Right now, one of the interesting challenges is when you're using, for example, OpenAI, data goes to OpenAI, right? They give you terms of service, good or bad. Right now, if you consider using decentralized compute, you don't actually even know where data is going. So you need kind of ensure privacy, which means you need end-to-end encryption. You need a very specialized way of doing that. And as soon as you unlock that, now you have ability to effectively have compute everywhere, right? Because it doesn't matter anymore if this is data center in your country or in somebody's country, because it's end-to-end encrypted and you have guarantees, cryptographic guarantees around this. So now you have a global market of compute. Now everybody can, optimize, similar how Bitcoin been optimizing electricity, been optimizing mining capacity across the global market. We can have the same thing versus right now it's a very kind of, nation state level and like gigantic corporation level optimization. So that's on the compute level. On the model level, same thing. Right now, you need to be a massive organization because you need to have access to compute and researchers to really make progress on these models. And if you try to do this in open source, right, you're going to run out of money because as soon as you open source your model, there's no monetization, right? So you either close source and you monetize it and effectively restrict access to this model, or you open source and only if you're Meta, which is printing, tens of hundreds of billions of dollars, you're able to do that. And so, again, blockchain is a way to coordinate resources, to create some products, and then monetize them in a different way that we've monetized traditionally, right? Again, because we have these cryptographic tools, we can actually monetize open source, but encrypted weights models, and we can funnel that revenue back into effectively next generation model, into the capital allocators, into people who put their work to develop models. Now you have a closed loop system where you can go and recruit more researchers, create ecosystems of developers who are building on top of this that actually has money going through the system. Now we know how to raise capital into that because you launch a token, you now have people speculating on the future value of this model, and so you're creating kind of new economy, new markets around that. So effectively, at every stage, right, as we're building out the stack, there is a opening up of a market that happens through the blockchain technology. And it's really important to have that because if we don't, right, we know from kind of, central planning is always limited in how it's done, but it's especially limiting when we have such a powerful technology that is effectively going to enable, massive GDP growth and massive, intellectual growth for everyone in the world, right? So it's really important that this is actually available globally, kind of not permissioned.
Yeah, definitely agree. And when we look back, I think you've been building this for about 6 years, and I've been very honored to be joining the journey as an early investor. And when I look back, you were at Google before, I was at Amazon as an engineer. Things have been moving so fast. And as you mentioned, I think the key is really the coordination. You've been building Near, which has become one of the largest blockchain globally and the largest in the AI ecosystem. What are some of the coordination problems that you guys have been solving, and what are some of the initiatives that Near has today around AI, such as you guys have been running Accelerator, Research Hub, and more to come? What are some of these things that people can learn about today and go back home, research, and contribute to your coordination layer? I think the beauty of introducing Near today is that it's not just OpenAI where you go, wow, and then go back home and don't do anything, but Near is an open ecosystem where you can actually learn and then go and build or contribute or just use. So give us some guidance on how to participate.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, coordination is effectively the core piece. And so we've been iterating a lot on different types of structures. And I think generally the kind of really powerful coordination structure that works in crypto is this competitive cooperation, right? And I use it a lot in kind of across. And actually, interestingly, I was reading about Visa, and Visa started with the same values. It started as this competitive cooperation of banks, and then it just kind of became centralized. Best rate, yeah. And so this idea is if you think of Bitcoin miners, right? They are all competing for producing a block, but together they're creating something that's valuable on its own, right? They're creating this cooperative value while competing for the block. And so similar ideas, and so I was giving some of these examples. Effectively, when you're thinking of AI research or when you're thinking of developing AI systems, agents, kind of applications, you have a similar mechanics. And so what we've been building with the Research Hub is effectively a place where if you're a researcher, developer, you can come in and you can suggest your ideas, you can experiment. We have the compute capabilities on the back end that are provided by some of this capital to train these models in such a way that if this model is high quality, if it gets used, this revenue gets generated, right? So these models are trained in so-called trusted execution environments. This allows them to be private and verifiable. And this allows effectively, if I'm a researcher and I contributed some data or a model, I'm able to capture some part of the revenue of this model in the future. And so you can have kind of different researchers either competing against each other or cooperating, right? Coming together and saying, hey, let's actually share our ideas and put them together into one model because together our model will be better, right? And so those are mechanisms that are somewhat happening inside, Google research where I worked, OpenAI, but it happens on a kind of smaller scale. And what we're trying to do is really open this up and create more of a market dynamics where people effectively can use this resources and kind of band together or compete against each other kind of to create these competitions. Similar thing happening on the kind of agentic layer, application layer, right? Right now, kind of the way we see this evolving is everybody will have an AI assistant on their phone, on their computer. This AI assistant will be your representative on the internet, right? It will know everything about you. It will have access to your private data. And it's really important that this runs privately, right? You don't want to give all your data to some other company that will be trying making money off it. Now, this AI assistant then will be able to go and say, hey, let's say we want to plan the trip to Abu Dhabi. Well, I need to book a flight. I need to get a hotel. I need to get a car from airport. I need to, maybe book some fun experience here. So it can actually use different agents who will execute these actions. And so again, we have a new, effectively, place for developers to come in and say, hey, I will build a best hotel booking agent that is able to provide such a good experience to the users and assistants. Or I will have, I will find all of the different unique experiences in Abu Dhabi and provide them through this agent and make sure that people are able to experience, in the whole kind of everything that Abu Dhabi has to offer. So you can have all of this now kind of extensions that people can build and plug in and offer effectively a market where your assistant can choose which actions to take based on what these agents are offering. So you have these different levels of effectively contribution. And importantly, this is not just for developers. The tooling itself is maturing such that you as a non-developer can actually talk to agent builder agent who will build an agent for you, right? So this is becoming a lot more meta, where it's more important for you to figure out the problem you're solving than to actually know how to write the code. So I really think that kind of opens up a massive opportunity because it's effectively, we're rebuilding a lot of the current internet, like all the websites, right? Or some of the, like even Instagram stuff where you're like, oh, here's the interesting things. And we're turning it into more like action and, there will be some recommendations as well to really enable these experiences prior to kind of personalized for you and done by your agent, right? Again, right now on Google, on Instagram, those are companies trying to make money of you, right? Whenever you do any action, they're trying to make money of you. And so we're trying to turn this around and have your assistant actually guiding you and maximizing your utility and your well-being.
Thanks for a lot of the ideas on some of the founders to pursue some of these inspiration. What is you've been sharing us a bit of a story around how near and blockchain-based AI could be different. Maybe to imagine the ideal future case of what the world would look like. What are some of the scenarios that you can think of that could be built on near that can only be possible through being AI being on top of blockchain rather than the centralized ones?
So, I think honestly, right now, you can do maybe basic payments in Web 2, right? Maybe there's Stripe. But you cannot do things like, hey, let's schedule a massive conference, and there's agents effectively going and executing different parts of this, coming to a financial commitments between each other where, maybe there's an agent run by AGGM and a hashed agent is talking to it and figuring out how to, organize the venue and doing this, right? All of those things really require effectively way faster moving money, way faster moving agreement, right? Imagine then, okay, now lawyers need to get involved, now billing needs to be done, now invoicing, it's just gonna kill all of the speed and flexibility that this AI offering. And so to me, it's really about this velocity and kind of ability to coordinate. And then on the other side is opening up these global markets. Again, most of the things we experience in life is some form of a market, but it's usually very local. It's very you're getting a taxi, it's a very local market, even with some of the apps like Uber. And you can imagine kind of all of this being open global market where anybody can join, and there is obviously reputation and kind of economics around this. And so a lot of those things I think really blockchain enables. But even kind of what we're talking about, the underlying infrastructure, if you want a permissionless and you want kind of monetizable open source, blockchain is the only thing that can offer you this at the fundamental level, right? You cannot Stripe Pay into somebody else running in a private capacity inference of a model. And so kind of across the stack, right, at every level, the velocity and the kind of programmability of finances, of commitments, is what blockchain enables. And the crypto identity is kind of the root of this that you can take anywhere.
Yeah, my main takeaway in Abu Dhabi Finance Week has been actually, coordination and tolerance. The fact that this country has been able to tolerate many different backgrounds and different initiatives around business and coordinate them to work in this new country for most of us. Very similar to how, open source AI has been approaching the world to coordinate within the large incentive system. I want to take a time to thank you everyone for joining us with founder of Near Protocol, Ilya. And Ilya, thank you and good to see you here.
Thank you.